switch to Singapore and some fundamentals coming out of there. Well, not really the fundamentals coming out of Singapore, but the analysis of those fundamentals is certainly doing that. It's a very, very good evening to Alexis. Hi, Alexi. How you doing?
Hi, Geoff. Good evening, everybody. Glad to be here.
What's going on?
Well, I think it's really cool to go after Julian because then I get to, I think, a little bit
All
of
the
clarity.
girls say that's really cool to go after Julian.
Sort of. As long as his wife is not listening in, right?
She's a
All
good
right.
sport.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, because I actually was looking at the Aussie dollar for today's session. And I think for the past couple of weeks prior, I think we were looking at Aussie weakness. And for the last week or so, the Australian dollar has popped back up. So of course, the question as a trader would be, is there more upward movement to go? And can I take advantage of this Australian dollar move? Will it continue going up? So that was the topic I was trying to explore to kind of figure out where the Aussie dollar is going in that sense. So I'm just going to flash a couple of statistics and a couple of news headers. So what I do like about this was there was this article uh, by the Australian government where there's a new record for South Australian exports and it has hit 13 billion for the first time in the state's history, right? So this of course brought me to think about, is it a import-export situation which has given Australia the buffer it needs? So what I did was I kind of went to look what are the world's biggest exporting countries just to see where Australia is placed. So it kind of surprised me that Singapore is number 13. So I did kind of check what is Singapore exporting and its machinery and stuff. Not very exciting, but Australia, it's somewhere at number 24. Not too bad, but I think it's like almost top 20. So again, the question is, what is Australia exporting that is allowing its current account surplus that is holding up the Australian economy? So if we think about it on the bigger picture, I think what is happening is because no one is traveling, right? And I figured that because if no one is traveling, and what's the best way to get stuff from other countries, right? It's of course by ordering it online, import export. So of course the biggest exporter we have is China. And how is China doing? China of course is a top exporter. Its exports are growing. It's in a way, the statistics for China, despite the COVID figures, is actually pretty healthy and pretty cool. So what I am looking at also, because there is a correlation between the Chinese economy as well as the Australian economy due to its economic relations. So of course that will bring me to take a peek at China's statistics, right? And they did have a drop in their GDP the last couple of quarters from like a 10% down to a average of a 3, 0.4, 1.3. But if we look at it on a, let's say, 25-year scale, you can actually see that the quarterly GDP for China is almost close to where they were pre-COVID. So this big spikes was during that COVID period. So China has handled its COVID situation, be it, I think every country has its own uptake of COVID numbers. So the question is, in terms of economic growth, economic sustainability, what is China doing? And you can see that if you just look at the past 25 years or even 10 years, just get a cleaner line, China is almost to its norm, right? Which means it's about quarterly is about 0.1 to 0.2%. That it's almost back to normal. So if you see China quarterly is 1.3, if we go in and just kind of look at where it was since June 2018 to now, you can see it's about back to normal, which can actually mean a good thing in terms of Asian economy, right? Which means despite nobody traveling, despite tourism being frozen, some products and services are still getting exported, or at least China's domestic demand is still hefty enough to support its local growth, local economy, and anything else is supplemented from imports/exports, whatever. So if we look at a comparison again in terms of its correlation between the Australian and the renminbi, this is what I'm curious is, who leads the market? Is it the renminbi leading the Australian market? If the Chinese economy as a whole, gain in strength and does import from Australia, etc. Does it which moves first? Is it the Australian dollar moves first or China renminbi moves first? And of course, I'm just going to assume China moves first because it's so much bigger. All right. Basically, economy-wise, it's so much bigger. So I'm going to assume that being a bigger economy means that a smaller economy like Australia would probably react to China instead of the other way around. So if you look at the monthly chart I have now, and it's really interesting because I've kind of tried to line this up grid by grid. So you can see 2020 is somewhere here, 2021, 2022. So all I'm doing is I'm putting lines at the tops and bottoms just to see whether there's a correlation. And there kind of is in a way. You know, on the, I think I've covered this before, like 2018, when the Chinese renminbi is at a high, Australian dollar kind of hit a double top on a monthly. When 2020, we had a low, okay, I think everybody went low here. And over here, when you see the Chinese renminbi started going up, the Aussies already started consolidating. Maybe there's a lag here, but what interests me is this last 3 months where the Chinese renminbi has gone nowhere. And coincidentally, last month into this month, you see this ring low forming. I think it's what Julian was pointing out, this ring low forming on the Aussie dollar. So then, of course, I always like to scale it to the weekly time frame just to see what advantages can we take next week. And I think what is really cool to see is we do already see some kind of recovery that's happening in China. We have a lower, first higher low over here. All right, whether or not this coming week will be a continuation pattern, I'm not sure, but what it looks like is the renminbi is trending towards the upside. There is a potential of more upward space, right? There's more upward movement happening over here. All right, and over here, all right, we do have a bullish pattern that is forming. So what I will be looking forward to next week is looking for pullbacks for the Australian dollar and seeing whether we can take advantage of any potential long movements. Again, this is a combination of a little bit of fundamentals and always, of course, looking for the entries on the technical side. So my focus for the next week is the Aussie dollar. I am looking for potential pullbacks across the Aussie currencies because let me just go back to a single chart view. Okay, so okay, it's loading. All right, so if I'm going back to look at a single chart view, what I'm looking back is a lot of, the Aussie dollar has gone up really strongly last week. I am looking for potential pullbacks across the Aussie dollars and seeing whether we can continue the long direction with a medium-term bias to the long side. So that's all for me this week. We are going to have eyes on the Aussie next week. So eyes on you, Geoff. Over to you.
Cheers, Lexi. I think the RBA on Tuesday may have something to say about what the chart's doing. Well, not intentionally, of course, but if we do get that pullback on the Aussie, I think you're pretty much in the right ballpark. I think it's a buy if we do get that pullback. We'll see. But can it take all the weight of every single person in the room so far is saying Aussie long? We'll see.